There's a dark side to bright light therapy. Instead of helping with seasonal depression, can sad lamps damage your eyes, give you chronic headaches, or even cause skin cancer? And here's the thing, if you thought this video was just clickbait, think again. I'm going to show you why you're absolutely right to be concerned about light therapy, but also some good news on how you can protect yourself against any potential health risks. If you're new here, I'm Dr. Josh, and I talk about how you can optimize your sleep and rest for increased energy and productivity. Now, a lot of my patients who are tired all the time ask me, is bright light therapy safe? And they're usually talking about something like this and one of two things, the skin and the eyes. And we're going to be talking about both of those things in a minute. But we're also going to be talking about something else, a much bigger issue that could be caused by these lamps that everyone seems to have missed. Okay, so let's first talk about skin, because not only is skin this stretchy thing that stops the contents of your body leaking out while simultaneously stopping bad stuff getting in, but it also has a very interesting relationship with light. Now, you might know that sunlight reaching the skin is important for producing vitamin D. And if you didn't, well, now you do. But if you're low on vitamin D, instead of prescribing light, a doctor will usually suggest that you take a vitamin D tablet. That's because the type of light needed to naturally produce vitamin D is ultraviolet light, or UV light, specifically light that contains UVB. And the problem with UVB is it's the same type of light that can cause skin damage and ultimately lead to skin cancers. And it's for this very reason that you don't want UV light in bright light therapy, and you certainly don't need it to help your energy levels. But here's the thing, you can't tell whether light contains dangerous UV light just by looking at it. That's because UV light sits just outside of the spectrum of visible light, or the colors of the rainbow, which means that when you turn on a lamp, unless you own a spectrophotometer, which I suspect you don't, you really have no idea whether this light is safe, or this one, or both of them, or neither. And when you consider that there's no strict regulation from the FDA or the MHRA here in the UK for devices that call themselves bright light devices, the risk of skin damage is real. It's worth mentioning at this point that you may have seen videos of people using red light therapy or green light therapy, and although I will absolutely be talking about those in other videos, that's not what we're talking about here. So the only real way of offsetting this UV risk is by getting a copy of the device's exact spectrum report. But a wise woman once said, ain't nobody got time for that. So a much easier thing to do would just be choosing a brand that is reputable and a device that clearly states that UV light is filtered out. Right, before we get to that, let's talk about the eyes, because really, light therapy for seasonal affective disorder is meant to be directed towards the eyes generally. And we talked about UV light causing skin cancers, but you can actually get all of the types of skin cancers in the eye. That's basal cell carcinomas, squamous cell carcinomas, and even aggressive melanomas of the eye. But unlike just noticing a new mole on your body, some of these cancers may not even be visible to you. You can even have an increased risk of developing cataracts in the eye, and this is why this whole filtering out UV light thing is so important. Now, even if there is no UV light present, there is some evidence to say that purely based on light intensity and how close you have to have these lights to your eye, there is the potential of eye strain, inflammation or photokeratitis, dry eyes, or even macular degeneration, which is the blood vessels being involved at the back of the eye, which could be a long-term risk factor for blindness. Now, I'm not here to scaremonger, but I just want you to be aware because there aren't loads of long-term studies around this. So to be honest, we have to use our best judgment. Some of the basic things you need to do to offset these risks are avoid looking directly at the light, avoid using it for prolonged periods of time or any more than 30 minutes, getting your eyes checked regularly, at least annually, and particularly if you start developing any sort of worrying symptoms. Now, dry eyes and eye strain can usually be remedied with simple things like using lubricant eye drops or simply just taking regular breaks and looking up from whatever you're doing, allowing your eyes to settle on an object in the distance intermittently. Okay, so the skin and the eyes are super important, but the greatest danger by far with light therapy comes when we underestimate just how powerfully light can disrupt every single cell in your body. And this is the power of circadian disruption, and it goes way beyond sleep and wakefulness. Let me explain. Nearly every single organ, tissue, and cell in our body has a clock. an intrinsic rhythm and it's predictable. When light reaches our eyes, it travels to a part of the brain behind our eyes called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the SCN. And when the SCN senses light, it sends a cascade of hormonal and neurochemical signals all over the body. And in normal situations, these chemical signals travel across the body and reinforce the body's internal biological rhythm. And just like a melody being played in time, the system works best when the timing is regular and predictable, a rhythm that the body's organs and systems can anchor themselves onto. The problem comes when you disrupt that rhythm. When we alter the timing of light, we alter how these independent systems function. Practically every cell in your entire body will respond to this signal in some way. And if you get the timing of light therapy wrong, this can cause absolute chaos. And so getting timing wrong or being inconsistent can result in inflammation, joint pains, bloating, diarrhea, weight gain, worsening depression, fatigue. The list goes on. If you underestimate just how powerful light is, you are at massive risk of undermining everything you are trying to achieve with light. It is so important to get this right, and if you want to know more, I go through a specific method of how to perfectly time your light exposure by using a sad lamp. Word of warning, I do get a bit technical, but if you stick with it, it may just transform your life. As always, do let me know what you found helpful, and if you've got any comments, I will try my best to answer them. And if you liked the video or found it helpful, do hit like, it does help me, or share it with a friend. And if you want to know more about sleep technology, and how to boost your energy levels in all sorts of ways, hit subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!